Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me today is our registered dietitian, Andrea Miller, and she's here today to talk about Jeremy.
Yes. That's right.
I am putting myself out there for you all today as we go through the metabolic. Is it metabolic testing that we did? We're going to talk about your overall health is the goal here, but a different way to look at this. And I'm fascinated by all of this and talk about metabolic. I see it's even tough for me to say it.
So we'll talk about metabolism or metabolic rate. So the big key takeaway for what our metabolism is the process that essentially takes the food that we eat, converts it into energy for our body to use. So a lot of times we kind of get stuck on, do I have a low metabolism? Do I have a high metabolism? More so on the rate. But I encourage people to think about that metabolism is our individual needs, our individual energy needs to help us function properly and move our body.
Well, that's easy enough, right?
That's simple, right?
So the first piece of this, so we definitely want to talk about how this all works together, and you're going to help us with that. But at Hy-vee, you offer a test that you can take to help you kind of navigate all of this. And I had a chance to do it, and we're going to take a look at the test here first, and we'll then talk about the results here next.
So we're going to walk through getting you started with the metabolic machine. So this is a breathing machine, and what it's going to do, it's going to measure your volume of oxygen. And so what you want to do is I'm going to hook up this one-use tube here, and you're going to plug your nose with a clip just so that your air is forced into the tube. And then what the machine's going to do is it's going to gather a nice, consistent, steady breathing pattern. So the best that you can with your nose clipped and a tube in your mouth, you want to try to breathe in and out as best as possible and as consistently as possible. So just kind of a normal breath. And then what it's going to do, it's going to gather the volume of oxygen, and then it converts it into a calorie number. And that calorie number is what the body needs to maintain current status. So current weight, body composition, etc. And so it'll take about 10 minutes, and you're going to sit in a relaxed position. So you're coming in as best at rest as possible. So anything that stimulates the metabolism, food, caffeine, alcohol, exercise, we do without that for at least 4 hours before the test. So we can test at rest as best as possible. About 10 minutes, you'll get a beep. It'll say remove hose, and then you'll be done. And then what we'll do is we'll print off the results.
All right, you saw me take the test. I got the results. They were devastating. No, they were just fine. And the test is super easy. I mean, it's just more or less staying calm is the hard part there, but it works out pretty good. We've got my information here, so bear with us. Why don't you break down what did we learn about Jeremy and my metabolic everything?
Yeah, so I will note that there are a few different ways you can measure your metabolism, some very complicated, some a little bit easier. So take into consideration, this is kind of, I would say, maybe a middle of the road where we use your volume of oxygen with the breathing test. So that gives us a pretty confident number there in terms of what your body needs energy-wise to sustain your current status when we look at that volume of oxygen. So certainly a calculation isn't going to take that into consideration. And so what we first obtain is we get resting energy expenditure. So this is important because this is the energy that your body needs just to exist. So your organ function, to help you think properly, to help with every process in your body. That's the amount of calories needed to keep you alive, basically, okay? And then what's gonna happen is with this case, the machine then takes your age, your gender, your height, and your weight with that resting energy expenditure, And it's able to estimate how many calories you likely need to sustain movement and activity during the day. So that's considered lifestyle movement or lifestyle and activity, okay? And then further, it takes a specific reference is 30 minutes for exercise, 30 minutes at moderate intensity. It takes that same information and then estimates how much energy do you need to sustain 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise. And with that, with those three numbers, we get a total energy output. So what that means is how much energy or how many calories does your body need right now to sustain your current status. So it's always good when you're looking at a change to start with what's going on currently, because then you know where to go, right? And that's the individualized part. And so we have a total energy output or a total calorie number. And so if somebody like yourself is looking at making some changes, so you're not necessarily looking at maintaining your current status, then we're able to adjust that energy intake or output, however you look at it, to achieve what you want to achieve. So that's where we have different zones, and we have maintenance zone and a weight loss zone. And so this is where we would then hone in on that weight loss zone. And what that's going to mean is going to mean a change for you from your total energy output now to achieving some weight loss.
Yeah, and we picked so you had me pick how much weight I wanted to lose, you know, and you kind of gave me some ranges to kind of help me. So that's set in here as part of this. So those numbers also calculated in here to get that. I think a big question that comes out of this is a lot of people think of this as mine just moves so fast, or I'm just real slow in this. And that's really not necessarily what you look at. You need to look at this big picture. Break that down for us.
Right. So what I really encourage people to do, rather than focusing on a rate, or a lot of times what I hear from people is, I cannot lose weight, I don't have any metabolism. Well, you do. It's more so see if you can focus on how much energy do you need at your current status to sustain what you want to achieve. So again, for some people, they want to maintain where they're at. For some people, they want to gain weight or gain muscle. For some people, they want to lose total weight. And so it's important to look at identifying how much energy or how many calories does your body need at its current state. And I keep referencing calories when I say energy, because that's how we measure energy in food, is through calories. However, that doesn't mean you have to necessarily count your calories or be so obsessive over calories. For some of us, it just helps kind of wrap our mind around the idea of, are we talking 3,000 calories or 1,500? And just kind of getting a general sense of the amount. I don't necessarily recommend or feel like individuals have to count calories in order to make this work. But they can use that calorie number to kind of conceptualize what food energy means. Because it's kind of hard to break it down, right? It's kind of hard to kind of think about it. And sometimes when we look at a number, that helps us make a little bit more sense of it.
Yeah, and as I'm looking at mine, I mean, if I really wanted to lose the amount of weight that I've selected, I would have to drop down significantly. And it gives a short range and a long range on this as well, which I think is helpful. But you say mine comparative wise, I fell in kind of the normal, below normal area, which is very surprising to me, because I thought, I figured I was slow, overall, just based on my own opinion of myself. But that kind of sets the stage here that it is acting normal. But if I adapt dietary changes, I can definitely make some improvements. And I don't know, it made you, this gives you the idea, in my opinion, it gave me the idea of, well, it's actually not as hard as it looks if I just start the able to cut back on some of those things and looking at it that way versus just, well, I know I need to exercise, I know I need to eat better, but if I think of it at that total calorie, I think that's that's an interesting way of looking at it. How accurate are the general calories needed for men and women posted in articles? You see a lot of this too, and it kind of goes hand. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's a great question, because that's one of the reasons why it is important to look at your current status, because, with all the, metabolic tests I've done and working with individuals, I can probably count on my hand, which isn't that many, of how many people, even their weight loss calorie level or calorie level to achieve weight loss was well above a lot of the recommendations you see in magazines. So in general, you'll usually see 1,200 calories thrown out for women for weight loss, and 15, 16, maybe 1,800 thrown out for men, okay? Usually that's way too low compared to what people are currently doing, and that's the key right there. If you're going way beyond what your body is used to, it doesn't matter if what you're used to is good or bad. If you go too far from what it's used to, your body is going to rebel. That's when you get cravings and you don't feel good. And so you want to make enough of a change to make a difference, but not too much where you throw your body off. And then it starts protecting itself instead of working with you.
So I guess that would take us to the final question is, if you set a goal and you take the test and you get kind of that, how fast should you move to make, yes, this gives you a kind of a rundown, but I think it's something you said to me as we were talking about this is, dieting doesn't have to be fast, and you shouldn't make that sharp cut, because most likely you'll not be able to stick with it. And somebody for me who I can tell you, I'm not interested in working out necessarily, and it's hard to eat when I'm on the goal, or hard to get those good meals in. But if you're looking at a starting place for the average Joe like myself, I feel like, what would be your recommendation after they do get the test and are trying to okay, well, I know the roadmap, but how do I go?
Right. So I'll mention a couple things. So first, if you look at it habit-wise, if you take one habit, get it implemented where you feel comfortable with it and it's starting to become normal, then it's a good time to take on another habit. So that's kind of a good way to think one habit at a time if you're measuring in that regard. If you're measuring in terms of weight loss, half a pound to a pound a week is a nice steady weight loss that will stay off. The general rule of thumb is the faster we take it off, the faster it'll bounce back on, versus if you take it off slower, then if it is going to come back, it's going to be slower. Hopefully it won't come back, but that's the case. The other thing to take into consideration is individuals can use this test. I use the core machine to do this metabolism test. But you can also take into consideration if you're at a certain weight calorie-wise, or if you're at a certain weight or gaining weight, you could look at your total intake and start to scale back a little bit, maybe by 25% each meal or total in a day. Some people, that resonates with them. If they take a look at what they're currently doing, come back about 25% total intake, especially for the person that thinks, I eat pretty good. I eat all the food groups, I eat fruits and vegetables. Maybe I'm just eating too much. That person doesn't necessarily have to do a metabolism test. They could take a look at their total intake, scale back a little bit, whether it's by meal or total day, and likely start to see some results that way too.
Yeah, and I think you drove it home too, that this just proves how individually everybody's body is different, and I think taking this test gives you that roadmap of who you are, where you're at, and don't make the assumptions that whether you think it's fast or slow for how your body works, but what is going to work for you, and taking those baby steps. Thank you for breaking it down. I know it's a lot of information to get through. But Andrea, thank you so much for showing us through this. And if people are interested in taking this test or talking with you, how can they get a hold of you?
They can go ahead and email me, and you'll include my email. They can email me right at Hy-vee, and I can get them set up.
Yeah, and as I showed you on the video, it's very easy to do, folks. And Andrea's full of knowledge on asking and taking those results and moving them forward. So thank you for breaking it down. Appreciate the time, and we'll check back with you real soon.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, Andrea Miller from Hy-vee. I call her our registered dietitian, even though she works for Hy-vee, but we certainly enjoy having her on the show here. And again, so what a great place to start if you're looking for trying to wrap your head around even trying to lose weight or eating better or something else. I think it's great, great piece there. All right, we'll take a quick break. More to come. You're watching Talking Pittsburgh.